Good evening and welcome to the Têkkel Talk Show live, which will probably be one of our very last live shows in this format for the year. We will probably be talking to you from various locations before Christmas, but in this format, the very last time. Alberic, good evening, and it's been a struggle to find time that suits both of us. That was albei se ligte anders, but we are here, and it's good to have you back.
I know where my mic me. Yeah, it's been a tough one. It's been a tough year. The season has been tough with guests and load shedding and only saam gespeel nie. But yeah, it's one of those things, guys. It's no use complaining. Take it on the chin, and we go that. Dis maar wat hoe Suid-Afrikaners is of nie.
Yeah, nee, verseker. And like you said, it's been a very indifferent year for the Têkkel Talk Show as well, where we had guests, week in and week out. The previous series, we could only actually secure a few guests because because of the schedules and they being impacted, and it's just one of those years. But tonight we're going to have a brief review of some of the things that happened. I think it's going to be probably just going to be good to start off. To have a look at some of the highlights and some of the lowlights here, Beric. Anything that stands out for you? Highlights maybe, lowlights, no lights, low.
Yeah, look. Obviously, we had a couple of guests this year, and each of them were phenomenal. I think Nier van Ziener was actually fantastic, just with his knowledge, just hearing from him as well. And then also guys like Ray J van Bukkel. Lekker to have them on the show as well. So it's been fantastic to have those, various guests on Têkkel like we normally do. And like I said, it's been a fantastic. I think with this year we went out a bit more. We did some more events. It's been good to get out. We did some rugby op die in die Boland, and dat is lekker geweest. And we're hoping to do some more of that come the new year. And but yeah, it's been a fantastic year, and we can always look forward to a bumper year next year.
Yeah, just touching on the Boland rugby, we know that this weekend it all comes together with the finals when Saldanha Bay Rugby Club in the top 12 will take on Bella Vista from Ceres. And unfortunately, one of the Swartland teams had to bow out in the semi-finals. They got beaten by Bella Vista Westbank. But I think, from our side, we just want to congratulate them. I think they got very, very far, and they could have easily could have sneaked that one. They were in the lead with 2-3 minutes to go. And unfortunately, Bella Vista pulling that one through. So it's going to be a cracker of the game. Die Weskussers van Saldanha sal moontlik die een van die gunstelinge gewees het toe die seisoen begin het, en hulle gaan dan speel daarso teen die Koue Bokkeveld van Ceres op Bella Vista, wat definitief 'n span gaan wees om die rekenskap te hou. Ons hoop om meer klub rugby te doen in die nuwe seisoen. Dit was lekker om 'n paar games by te woon, Alberic, en net te sien hoe die manne jol. Ons doen nie livestreaming nie, maar is lekker om behind the scenes te gaan, 'n bietjie interviews te doen, 'n bietjie te gesels met die crowds. Lekker atmosphere.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And guys, if you missed it, you can go onto our channel. You see all the videos that's there, and anything that you've missed out of the season. And specifically the game between Abbotsdale and Wesbank was something to behold. It was a real rugby dag, sal ek maar sê. En die mense het opgedag. Het was lekker. Die vuur het gebrand. Het was net 'n lekker atmosfeer. And something I'll definitely be a part of. I think next year coming, we have to show that. Look, like you said, we don't do live streaming, but we want to bring, Têkkel to the people and have people see and interview them and get their say, because it's all about the community and how they support their teams.
No, for sure. So from our side, once again, well done to all the teams that made the final, but specifically the top league, those that got through to the top 12 between Saldanha and Bella Vista this weekend. In Wellington, should be a cracker of a game, and may the best team win. Ek het nou reg gesê.
Yeah, not win team. Even I'm like, maybe we must put a clip on our page.
Hey, meneer, hy Engels is nog nie vir ons almal nie. Maar guys, kom ons gesels oor die Springbokke. Die Springbokke het 'n bietjie retour down under. Ons die fixtures gewys. We knew it was going to be a very, very difficult tour. But I think they made it more difficult than it should have been. Specifically looking at the SAA team, I think they could have done a little bit better on this tour. But there you have the Springbok results. Remember, listeners, if we take you back to our predictions, we knew that the first two tests was going to be very, very tough. I said that Ireland and France certainly among those that's going to contend for the Rugby World Cup 2023. But if you recall very, very well, the Springboks had both of these games. They really had it. And I would almost want to say they let it slip. Against France, mitigation would probably be losing Peter Step the Toy to a red card early, but they were in there right up until the scrum half, Dupont getting a red card as well, down to 14 men against 14 men, and they could have easily even sneaked that one against France in France.
Oh yeah, 100%, Danny. I'm not too, after losing that first one, a lot of detractors would have said, the Boks lost two, and going to the easier game.
Wat het jy gemaak daar by Italy? Is jy drukfout uit?
Dit is 'n drukfout, ja. Dit is 'n drukfout. Ons moet dit regmaak. Kom ons maak dit sommer reg terwyl ons praat. Ek sien nou.
Ja, nee, ons weet dat die Italianers, jy weet, hulle het die vorige week they managed to beat Australia, but I think we're just going to switch that score around very, very quickly. It was the Springboks. It was the Springboks that I would say in the second half came back strongly and actually demolished the Italian team by beating them by 63 points to 21. It was the first half where the Italians probably would have chanced their arm. They started well. I recall them being in front for some parts, if not the most part of the first half. But it was the second half where the Springboks really hit their straps and played their best rugby. I would say their best rugby on tour. They probably played in the second half against England and in the second half against Italy.
That's it. Dankie
meneer. Dankie. Ek kan nie my bokke so in.
Nee, ons kan nie. Guys, but with that said, and just stepping back, as I was saying earlier, nobody gave the Boks chance to actually win those two games. The Irish and against the French. But the Boks actually, for large parts of the game, were actually playing very winning rugby to a certain extent. But tentative maybe against Ireland and in the beginning. But they actually, came back pretty well. There were some fantastic tries that were scored. I think the Boks have something. I feel the Boks have something on this up their sleeve, and they might not have shown it totally just yet. Maybe the introduction of Manie Libbok, bringing that X factor into the backline had a huge effect especially from the Italy game. I think people were all screaming for him to start from the Italy game. Everybody screamed for him to go into the England game as the number 10. However, Damon has played some fantastic rugby over the length of this tour, and he deserves his spot as well at the same time. So I think the Boks, I think it was a good tour. It wasn't a great tour. I think it was a good tour. I think obviously with one more win, it would have made it a great tour. But I think with the close wins, remember we're playing away. We're playing these guys in their backyard, and that's always the advantage. And to lose 4 points against France and 3 points against Ireland, I don't think it's too bad at all.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the plus part obviously is that the big positive for the Springboks would be that their run-on team that we expect to be in the playoffs of the Rugby World Cup would be vastly improved. Should be vastly improved. Remember the Springboks for two tests they went without a recognized place kicker. For instance, they went without their recognized pivot at number 10. We know Pollard is injured and Elton on holiday, but you know, those are factors that they need to sort out. I don't believe that they would go into a World Cup and entrust a guy like Cheslin Colby to take a pressure kick in a quarterfinals or in a semi-finals of a Rugby World Cup. So I'm pretty sure that we will see those changes going into Rugby World Cup. Whether it will be Pollard, that remains to be seen. I believe Mane has shown promise that he can, with perhaps with a little bit more game time, he can become a test match or test quality flyer. So, having said that, and I want to agree with you, it was always going to be difficult. Even the game against England, I was very skeptical that, especially with the number of changes that the Springboks had to make. But in the end, 27 points to 30, I would say quite a comfortable victory for the
Really
Springboks.
comfortable, very comfortable, especially with the hype that the hype that the English bring. And I think, just with that, there was talk about they want to get us back for the World Cup, etc., etc. But I think the Boxers played a very strategic game, very well played. I think they matched, dominated England, I think, up front, and our backs. I mean, she was Kirtley. I think just scored one of the best tries you'll see for a long time. I think just besides the fact that his skills, beating Marcus Smith at the end. I think the fact that Damon Smith and Willie Leroux, guys. I mean, I know we had a lot to say about Willie, but Willie's attacking skills has just been great this last couple of games. We can't deny his class. I think yes, there is some holes in his defense, and he might not have the pace that he used to have. But as a genuine playmaker, I think Willie deserves to be deserves to get the credit that that should come his way.
No, for sure. And just on that, I think when you look at the game against, for instance, against France, where I think in the second half, Willie came on and ran the show. If you look against what he did against Italy, the question always arises with me is why would you want to only play that type of game plan when you are chasing the game? We saw against England, the moment we take it wide, we really look good. We have all players like Willie Leroux who really melts away in games where he is asked to do something different, where he's asked to be in position and kick the ball back and stuff like that. So I believe that we need to resort to plan B a little bit more, a little bit faster when we see things does not go our way. And then, if you look at from my perspective, I think the best player or one of the best finds on the tour was Têkkel Arendse, who, in my opinion, if he goes on like this, he might even push Mapimpi out of the starting lineup, and we will see that we will start with smaller wings, a little bit more flight of foot with Cheslin and himself. But then you need a game plan that where you can create the one-on-ones. Those guys need some space. They need one-on-one opportunities. They are not the wings that want to chase ball. So, and we can do that. We have, especially with Lukhanyo coming back. I am really excited that those two wingers next to Lukhanyo next to a Willie Leroux that plays the way he can play. We still have Warwick Galant to come in that can still play that. We can move Damian Willemse to fullback and play with the outright flyer, Mani Lebok, Andre Pollard. So a lot of options, and I'm pretty excited. So if you are on the line, what do you think, or who do you think was the find of the series? And who do you think is that outside player, like a Têkkel Arendse, that might put up his hand and walk into the starting lineup come Rugby World Cup time? There's still a lot of loose bolts and nuts, I think, that Nina Haber and his team still need to tie out if they want to be serious contenders next year.
100%. I think looking to the year ahead next year, we also got the Rugby Champs, and when it's World Cup year, the Rugby Champs always shortened, and it's always a case of it being used as a running or training ground for the World Cup. So there will be games that we can test those combinations. I think coming back to your point on Kirtley and those wings, yes, we need the fly-offs that can actually give the space with coming back, etc. I would still like to see, in a situation, and we've seen it earlier. I think it was earlier this year when the minute the Kanye came off and you had to shift from a very early, part of the game, you had to shift, bring Willie on, for example, from the bench, and you had to, for example, move players out of position. I also like to see what Damien can do on 12. He's done it fantastically at the Stormers. I think him on 12 and having him and Locanio, I think that combination should be absolutely magical. Albeit with whether Andre gets the berth over Mani. I think with the way Mani's playing now, I think Andre has to pull up his socks definitely. But that combinations I think is very exciting, and I hope you can get some game time just to practice that. It's worked for the Stormers having Mani at 10 and you're having Damien on 12. And I think with that kind of game plan, I think guys like Kirtland will dance all day long.
For sure. No, for sure. And over the years, we've seen Damien Willems really sharpen up his defensive game, and I think it's not faultless. We still see him slipping off tackles, but I think it has a lot to do with the fact that he's played at 12 at the URC level. He represented the Stormers, and last year in the title winning quest, I think he was then perhaps for me one of the standout performers for the Stormers, especially playing in a position where I don't think that he is. If he needs to choose, he would probably choose flyer or fullback. But he really excelled at 12, and certainly will not fail at international level in that position as well. That remains to be seen. There is also up front. There's also still a lot of debate who the number one lock pairing is. We have Mostert, who's very versatile. We know Louis de Jager and Eben Etzebeth are the go-to locks. We have Ergie Snyman that needs to recover from injury. And then obviously, and loose trio, we can move Pieter Steef de Toey from 7 to lock. And Ivan Roos, if he has another a stellar URC competition, he's certainly going to apply a lot of pressure on the coaching staff to give him a proper run ahead of Jasper Wiese. He only had that game against England, and in that game, we really saw him grind very, very hard. It wasn't ideal for him to play his natural number 8 game. So, there's a lot of other options still up front. So, big URC needed from those fringe guys. You have the Marvin Oris, the Fassies, and those guys that still want to say, hey, Nina, but I'm still here. Don't forget about me. So, yeah, we're looking forward to the URC as well.
And with that said, the point you mentioned, I think there's times when you felt a lot of the players, the stalwarts in the beginning of the season, they came and just did what they were supposed to do. And I think when the minute Ninaber started shaking it up, bringing a well-deserved Jaden Hendricks above Faf, you saw the Boks playing a different game, for example. You saw the Boks getting better ball. But the minute Jaden got taken off, I think it was an injury if I'm not mistaken, and Faf got some game time now the last few games. All of a sudden, Faf is looking like the real deal now. Faf is looking much better. He's kicking less. And sometimes he actually, we still have the paar keer die ouens geflows as hy enkel uitstoot en as hy gaan in die skop pad maar as hy sometimes because of the pressure that the pressure that having competition brings from the bench. We saw what happened with Bonky and Malcolm. That competition is healthy. And the same would apply, I think, to players like the Pieter Steefs that hasn't really, gotten to the top of his game yet. But a guy like Franco Mostert is breathing down his neck, playing some absolutely great rugby. Him coming, off the bench and filling that role. So the competition is healthy. I think the more we can give these guys, these fringe players, the Evan Roses, those players game time, the better it will be for the Boks going into World Cup. I don't think that was handled that well beginning of the beginning of Jacques' reign. Guys like, for example, Fassi had just kind of fallen by the wayside. They're in the fringes, they almost outside the fringes. Guys like Warwick Galant outside the fringes, and those players should be given the opportunity and kind of just making sure that Wally Leroux is accountable for his position. Even a guy like Chesden Colby has to look at his position now because you have Kane and Moody and Kirtley, being hot youngsters coming to show their mettle. So competition is great. I think it's fantastic, and I think it's going to just bode well for the World Cup, where we need depth. Where you lose one game in the World Cup and you have to win 6 after each other, that's where depth is going to count.
No, for sure. And I think we have that mix and blend of players. If there's one part or one piece of critique, it is with the selections. And I think, we are only, like they say, couch coaches. But I think that I can also, at sometimes, I can see that they are missing the point. And if you look at a guy like Kwagga Smith, and it's just a guy that you would want in your team any day, because but then you would probably want to play him off the bench. And it was very strange when Jasper Wiese was not available for the one game. Ideal opportunity to bring in Ivan Roos. They did not do that. They opted to go the other way around. And then playing without I really don't understand why you would not. Maybe listen. Maybe I am too sensitive. You go into a test match and you juggle the place kicking between Faf and Cheslin. You have Mani. And the weird thing about it is that Mani is an outright 10, and you have the opportunity to move Damian Willemse anywhere in the back line. You opt to juggle the place kicking and gamble with it. It makes no sense. Someone must tell me, Heinrich, there is a rationale. We want to play Damian Willemse at 10. I understand that. Then you play Mani at 15. Because you need a place kicker that strikes at 80% against England. It's non-negotiable. You cannot, and now a lot of people would argue, but Cheslin was faultless of the team, Faf het. It doesn't work like that. You only have 6-7 test matches, maybe less, going into a World Cup. You see, Barrick, and for me, those are the types of things, because this is your trial for the World Cup. It could easily happen that Pollard pulls up. First game, second game of the World Cup, Pollard pulls up. He needs to be shipped out, and we need to play without Pollard. Are you telling me that we would go into a quarterfinal flipping a coin to ask who's going to kick this between Faf and Cheslin? The answer is a definite no. They would play Mani. So why not play him in a pressure cook situation against England? Test his big match temperament. There's nothing to lose. Going into a quarterfinal, it's all to play for. And then you would want to test Mani in a green and gold jersey under pressure at 15, 13, having to kick to get us into a semi-final. That for me, there is not, even if they bring the best sports science explanation to the table, I will challenge that. There's no logic in that. Absolutely not.
En het jy nog 'n posisie van, look, if this was, practice games and, you have Faf doing, things on the court, then it's another story. But
or it's Georgia, you play Georgia or whoever. Then maybe there's mitigation.
But then also, let's just say this also, let's be honest also, Faf is not, his position is not necessarily cemented. So you're taking a player that's not necessarily cemented and you have him kick to post in preparation for a World Cup. Hy gaan miskien nie begin nie. So we don't know that. So for the sake of that experiment, I thought, from my point of view, when I saw the selection last week, I thought it would have been a good, like to your point, a great opportunity to get Mani in, to get him having a feel for the game, getting a feel for test match rugby, and then cementing himself. I mean, Mani was great. Yeah, at the end, he made a balls up with the ball, he kicked over the line, etc., etc. But if you don't give Mani, at least a half to play, he's not going to give you the. For me, it's a case of giving this guy enough time to make magic happen. And the way the England played, I take nothing away from the Bokke, but the way that the English played, I think Mali would have done something fantastic on Saturday as well. But yeah, let's not take away from the fact.
Yeah.
Just the fact that they played.
Just my last. Yeah. But yeah, you want to say?
No, I'm saying just what I said. I take nothing away from Damon. Damon played well and fly off. That's he did play well.
No, for sure.
You can't take
But yeah, Barrick, now again, the other side of the coin. And, again, we just debating this.
Yeah.
If we decide that is this, if, say, for instance, Ninaber have a chat and he says, listen, there's rationale, there's logic behind it, then I would go as far, if he can prove to me that there is some logic to it, then Damian Willemse needs to kick above Mani in the URC. Then I would say, right now you want to play Damian Willemse. He is your go-to place kicker. Then the message must go to Dobson that Mani should not kick at provincial level, at union level. In national interest, can you please allow Damien to kick under pressure and kick in a match day and let us work on that. Damien is not a poor goal kicker at all. We've seen him land a few very good kicks. He's out of touch. He's out of touch. Hy skop nou 'n bal soos ek 'n golfbal slaan. Hy kan enige plek gaan. Sommige tye is hy reguit en ander tye is hy net nie waar dit moet wees nie. And it's just because you're out of touch. Then he needs to kick at the URC level, Alberi. And Mani then needs to understand that this is part of the bigger national plan.
Yeah.
That's my 5 cents.
100%. I extend some. And guys, whether you agree with us or not, please let us know. Let us know your thoughts. I think there's a lot of touch points. We feel the Boks could have done so much better this year. And yes, also Swanet, so I never said we couch coaches, but at the same time, we know that just looking at what can be delivered even on URC level can be put to the test. I think at the international level, I think players like, for example, Damon has showed that. Players like Evan Roos has showed, and I think it's just time that we do a bit of more, not experimenting like we did in the second test against the Welsh. I'm talking about giving the players game time at the right moments, not necessarily wholesale changes and expect the team is going to win. We've seen it with the SAE results; it doesn't work. And at the end of the day, it's just a matter of what actually transpires on that field that night. Are the players good enough? We think they're good enough. We think that URC players have been playing some fantastic rugby, or games at least, albeit not the Sharks.
Yeah, they've hit themselves with a plank last week. I see immediately they decided to just fire the coach. But sometimes you need to look into the mirror. I think the intensity wasn't there. I'm not sure what was wrong, but it was just not good enough. And but luckily for the Sharks, I saw that they probably going to. I'm not sure what they're going to do with their Springboks additions, but it's 8 very big names. And if I'm them looking at the log, I'll pretty chance my arm. Gooi hulle in because jy weet net ons sien na Ambrose Witboy wat net sê die manne vanaand Heinrich voor blokcoach ons gaan later. Ek het nou nie die social media skills wat Rassie al die net nie, maar ons kan kyk.
Ambrose sê dit ook, want hy sê dit is not short index. Kyk. Dis maar nou Kaizen must say I agree certain selections and decisions could have been better thought through, yes. However, I would rather lose in a November outbound series than a Rugby World Cup. And it's actually preempting what I wanted to say. If you look at, I wouldn't call the Springboks a outright outsider, but I think looking at the pundits globally, they have their favorites, and New Zealand obviously being an outsider, but they rank Ireland and France, especially France, in their own backyard. A lot has been said. But I think the Springboks, as daar nou een span is wat die appelkar kan omgooi, soos die Afrikaanse man sê, is dit Nina Haber en die Springbokke. Want I think they have the blueprint, they have the foundation. It's just about getting it right on the day. And I think, especially now, let's hope, die liggie het aangegaan, that we can really mix it up. Traditioneel, lê die fondasie voor, maak sak voor, have the Bongies, the Malcolm Marks, the Eben Etzebeth, but then have a playmaker at pivot that can really snap it. If we need to go wide, it needs to go wide. And we can hurt teams. You give a sniff of doubt in the opposition, having to man Colby, having to man a Willie Leroux, having to man a Locanio having to man a Cheslin Colby. Just a sniff of doubt, and give those guys a little bit of space. We can see them scoring tries, tries that we normally see from an All Black team. I believe we can do that. No, exactly. I think what we as fans, I think, are we believe in that. And maybe the Springboks haven't yet gotten to that aspect. Is if you compare it to the All Blacks, the winning All Blacks of the 2000s and all that, even 2010s, they've managed to when they take you out, they annihilate you. They don't still mess around. And I saw a glimpse of that in the Italian game of the Boks, where the Boks of old, if they were playing against opposition that we know we should be beating easily, the old Boks of old would put 50, 60, 100 points on them.
Yep.
Boks of the last decade, were more tentative, were more kind of conservative in their approach, and ended up not. We never had a killer instinct. The All Blacks of old had a killer instinct. I think what we want is just for the Boks to do. We got the skills. I don't see why we should be afraid to start using our skills, playing out wide. Look at the players we have on the outside, and it's an opportunity for us to say, to drive that knife in and say, listen, but we have a killer instinct. We can create opportunity. We can make sure, and not just by thumb suck win a game. Look at, for example, the Welsh. The Welsh I feel getting too much respect, to be honest with you. Just based on their performances and just over this last year. And yet we lost against them in our backyard. We shouldn't have been it. Whether we had a new team, and we can give all the excuses for that. My thing is just the Boks need to develop that. Yes, we want to win well, and to Kaizen's 007's point, yes, I fully agree. It's rather lose now than next year. But at the same time, I also want to challenge, Jacques and say, listen, guys, instead of just aiming for World Cups, let's continue that trend. I think we aim to win World Cups, which yes, we can do. We're on par with New Zealand. We won 3 World Cups like them. However, what the All Blacks have done, and we haven't been able to do, is to match that consistency throughout, between World Cups. And I think we need to. I don't think next year will bring that because of the fact that there is a shortened rugby championship and a few games that's warm-up games. But at the same time, I want the Boks to create that killer instinct that we know we can with our players that we have.
No, for sure. And with that, we know that we also had an outside chance to win. We were actually right there to win the rugby championships. And like Albert said, we just didn't hit the nail when we needed to.
All Blacks op Ellispark DR. We had in Nelspruit, we had the All Blacks against the Racks. And whether it's complacency, whether it's just like, we're going to pitch up for the day, I don't know what it can be. We could have driven, if there's 1 year, we could have driven the nail home with the All Blacks and put the statement out. For the rest of the year was that game against Ellis Park. And we can see how it counted against us towards the end. We could have won the rugby championship for us for that game. Kaizen coming through again. Punters had the favors, but let us be pragmatic. It's either Boks or New Zealand. The manner in which both sides went about their business and having 2 teams up. Fully agree. I think that's the beauty of those two. I think the All Blacks and the Boks will always be favored. I don't think there's any World Cup. Well, besides the Boks, 1 or 2 World Cups, they might not have been favorites. But definitely, the All Blacks will definitely be up there. And again, the style of play to what you were saying, Heini, is speel rugby, but World Cups can win. Let's now be honest. That's our style. And for us, it's just a matter of creating consistency so that we have that depth. The All Blacks won. The All Black A side clobbered everybody on tour. I think they only lost against the Barbarians on this European tour. And their second side, beat most of. In fact, I think the Irish second side as well. So they have that continuity going. We do. We've got a lot of great players, but maybe that is not necessarily translating well into our depth like we should, like we hope to be.
No, I think what is important, and especially in terms of France, I think if you don't put their forwards under pressure, if you don't give them, I wouldn't say back football, but pressurized ball, you saw against the Springboks, and yes, we lost the game, but they were really under pressure. In fact, their backline just couldn't get going. Against Australia, the same. I think Australia had that method of double hitting their runners, and they just couldn't get going. So I think if you put the French side under pressure up front, because they are a complete package. They have now the forwards now to match any team, and if their backline gets running, it's problems. But against the Boks, and I think that is where the Boks, even with 14 men, the Boks really put them under pressure up front. And Dupont and Intermark they almost became invisible to me. They were not the players that I thought they were going to win IRB Player of the Year. They looked very average, and that is the key when you play the French. But on the other hand, if their forwards get go forward ball, they sneak around the fringes. Dupont gets his tail up. You will lose against the French 9 times out of 10. They are a confident, driven team. They get into the game, and the 50-50 passes stick with big trouble. So I would certainly throw in the French. I want to say that they are hyping up this Irish team a little bit more than they should be. I think they are.
But the talk in the game might be, we don't know. Starting to say we're only able to see that theory is true. But the fact that they possibly have picked, I mean, the Irish had a fantastic. After Argentina won the All Blacks in New Zealand, you're like, okay, now you look at the Irish. Was it now? Yes, it was a gutsy performance, but the fact that the Argies did it, pretty comfortably, I would say. You think twice, like, okay, there's something, it's not necessarily, they always weren't necessarily on form this year. But yeah, to your point, I think the Irish have been, talked up a lot. They also didn't look as and I think, and let's be honest now, I don't think they have the depth evens, the way the All Blacks and South Africans have, and possibly the French also, in terms of those second teams. If Johnny Sexton isn't on form or not even on the field on the day, then the Irish is a totally different side. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to be said about the Irish, and I don't think, I'm not too convinced yet. French definitely, but the Boks have shown there's some cracks in the wall that could be exploited.
No, for sure. Some of us are not as fortunate to go to live games, and we had some Têkkel mail. We have friends on the show, viewers, tacklers, like we call them. We have them going to live games, and one of our viewers went out to go and watch the game between, I think it's a South African A against the Bristol Bears, if I'm not mistaken. Kyle went to one of those games, and he dropped us a video to share his experience. Barry, we are not all that fortunate, but we at least have friends in high places that can send us their videos to share their experience. Check this out.
I got all of it.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Thanks for that.
Thanks, Kyle, for sharing that. And we know the result didn't go the SAHT team's way. Again, what's that game? It reminded me a lot about my rugby trials at school, where we just used to swap from one side to another, and you want to just get the name of the guy you're playing next to, because you don't know anything about him. And I watched the SAA side, and they looked unstructured, and for some extent they looked like guys that really got together the day prior. There were no synergy.
No, nothing. No synergy. En kyk jy, eintlik daar was ouens wat regtig op die deure klop van die nie net noodwendig die starting line-up nie, maar net die boksspan op die squad ten minste. Henkel van Wyk, we know he's a great player. Who else was there? Was a few other big names. I think it was Kane. I'm not sure if Kane was there. He was drafted in, I think, from the squad. But there were some good, exciting players.
Sasha was part of.
He was there as well. Yeah, Sasha was there as well, and we know these guys can play. And yes, it is my, let's call it the barbarian style team, if you can put it that way. However, However, if you look at the All Black A side and you look at the two teams, it's chalk and cheese. These guys, the All Blacks, look in sync. They were cleaning up their position. And again, like I said, they narrowly lost against the Barbarians. I don't know if anybody would know their record on the store, but I think they won all the games. And I think they compare the two teams. It's just, it's haphazard. It just feels like it was a span wat aan mekaar gesit op die laaste minuut.
Yeah, nee, verseker. We're just going to latch on to something that is, going around. We know we are witnessing the FIFA World Cup as well, and there's a lot of football fans. Barrick, it's so far a World Cup of upsets.
Yeah.
Many of them, I think tonight we've seen perhaps one of the early favorites, Belgium, bow out. Unanimously bowing out, not even reaching the last 16. We have some of our African sides, Senegal and Morocco, doing us really, really proud. We have Ghana still with an outside chance who can go through. We will be rooting for the African side. Certainly, we will be rooting for them. But I think perhaps if it's going to be a victory for Africa if one of those teams go through and reach the semi-final. I think it's going to be a step too far to ask to get them into a final. But certainly among the big guns now, as teams start to knock each other out, we can really be proud that certainly we will have two teams now, perhaps a third, in the last 16 of the FIFA World Cup. And big teams. We had Argentina on the fringe of being knocked out. If it wasn't for their victory last night, we perhaps would have seen the last of Lionel Messi. They got through to the last 16 as well. But I still think, Barrick, the favorites will be in the last four. And I think it's going to be very, 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 very... France, definitely. I think France. I've got France going.
Brazil.
And if all goes according to plan, I have a Brazil-France final.
Yeah. And I definitely, I think Portugal's also looking not bad as well. And I think
Portugal is showing there.
Yeah, and then also this
Holland.
Holland. Yeah, wanted to do that.
Holland is not hot, but I think Holland's got a better chance than England.
I was going to say England at the moment because they kind of look more solid, going into this round.
If all goes according to script, and it looks, in the case of France and England, it looks at it that they are staring down a possible quarter-final clash, which means if everything goes according to plan with the pools, you're looking at England playing Senegal in the last 16. They would probably chance their arm, but Southgate is going to be annoyed. But they would probably chance themselves to beat Senegal. But then you are looking and staring down the barrel, playing France in a quarter-final.
Yeah,
that's going to be a cracker. And who knows, perhaps the winner of that game might go all the way. That to me, because Gareth Southgate and his team has got a very good team. So say elke World Cup het Barry. It just manages to squander it. But I think they're playing well now.
Yeah. I think England again. It's just, I think maybe the expectation of their fans, and not only their fans, the English fans. It's just people worldwide. They're familiar with the Harry Kanes and all those players, Saka and all those guys. They're familiar with those players, but how it actually translates necessarily in the English team has always been the battle that they face. But I think this is a good opportunity for them now, especially with teams like Argentina not hitting their straps yet, Germany not hitting their straps, and that kind of thing, and France maybe just here and there 1 or 2 hiccups. I think if there's a time, England might just be able to put that. But I definitely think Brazil kind of just quietly doing their thing in the background. I think maybe they've learned from getting groot pak slaan in the last 1 or 2 World Cups. But I think hopefully that will. I'm gonna back Brazil for this World Cup. So it's gonna be interesting to see where it ends up.
I'm working out, Derek. You heard it here on the Têkkel Talk Show. It's on record. We're thinking that France should play Brazil in the final of the FIFA World Cup 2022. a big outsider from my side, a major outsider, and a team that might just shock us all. I love Spain, the youngsters of Spain. They look very good. They haven't even come into this World Cup with a big hoo-ha. They don't have the Fernando Torres and the Ramos and the Iniestas that they used to have. But they're quietly going about their business. And I like the youngsters. Ek moet plek when ek gaan lees vir wat 'n span speel die ouetjie, because I haven't heard of him. But if I look at him, and I look at the guy like Alvaro Morata, still one of the experienced guys. They still have one or two of those guys can come off the bench. Major upsets. If Spain can get through with those youngsters, all of a sudden you start believing they get themselves into a semi-final. Vivian, I like the Spanish side, and I can tell you, going into this World Cup, I looked at this squad and I said, I'm not giving them a chance. I wouldn't have on paper given them a chance against Belgium. Belgium is ice too. They eliminated. They're not part of the last 16. So this World Cup specifically not played on paper. We've seen France losing. Obviously, selecting a second stringer side. But Alberic, who knows? Who knows? It can be. Let's hope it's Africa's time. It's Africa's time. We don't know.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know. Look, there's some players like Mane that's not playing for Senegal. Some big names that might not be there. But however, I think that the grit and determination that African sides normally show, hopefully it gets us pulled through. We needed some luck, in some tournaments, somewhere, man. Whether it's Ghana, remember the game Ghana against Uruguay and what happened with Suarez and all that, but you need some luck, and hopefully that luck just turns forward. It would be a fantastic story for an African side to win a World Cup, so hopefully that can be done. Let's see.
Tell us who your picks are. We know we're still heading into the last round of 16, still the quarterfinals, the semi-finals to come. There's still a lot of football to be played. Pop us your prediction in our chat box on our Facebook page. And tell us, who do you think? Maybe you say you believe that Germany can go all the way. We know they are staring down the barrel of the gun. They need to get a result later on tonight. If they do not get the result, as a tata goodbye for Germany, they can get onto the same taxi as Belgium, going back home. Big embarrassment. But give us your predictions. And guys, like I said, it might be our final show in this format, but next week, Derek, we will briefly chat on our Facebook page. Just do a Facebook live video, live from the IRB HSBC Cape Town Sevens next week in Cape Town. We'll have a good chat with you, and we'll chat with a few of the fans at the Sevens. And you can catch that live on our Facebook page. We'll give you all the details and do the scheduling so you can pick it up from there. And then certainly we will not fail to obviously do our season's greetings and wish you all a Merry Christmas before that time. But until then, Alberic, this is the last Têkkel Talk Show live for a Thursday evening for 2022. We will be back next year, bigger and better, and hopefully in a different format that we don't have to ons generators kry of goeders. Ek kan ons kry, man. Ons moet net dinge kry.
Ons moet.
So kan dit nie aangaan. We want our show to be back on track.
Exactly. En ons soek net 'n sponsor wat ons kan help om ons sal sommer generators nou so gaste ook, man. Want yes, we had some nice guests lined up, but unfortunately it didn't work out. But like you said, we're expecting a bumper year. It's going to be a fantastic year, and we wish you guys all the best. We will still be on Facebook. We will still wish you guys, but we hope that you guys, the little time that you could share over Thursday nights this year, we hope you guys had a fantastic time just joining in the comments. We enjoyed your comments. We enjoyed listening to you guys, and just hearing your feedback. It gave us different perceptions, different viewpoints on how, our fancy, our Têkkel fancy rugby or soccer or cricket, whatever. So we've got a different perspective on things, and you guys are brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So well done, guys.
Thank you. And thanks for always tuning in. Sometimes at last minute, or sometimes we had to cancel due to circumstances beyond our control. But from the disappointment of the Proteas and to all the guests, to Arsenal topping the Premier League table going into Christmas, who would have thought, to the Soccer World Cup fanatics, we wish you and your team very, very well. To the Springboks, well done. I think it was a satisfactory end of year tour, and we will also then say good luck to all the URC supporters. Let's hope the Stormers can pull a double, en kom ons hoop dat hierdie naweek die Saaks 'n bietjie wakker skrik en dat hulle die treurmare van die laaste week het hulle 0 gekry, nie 1 punt afgeteken nie, né?
Ja, nee, is 0. Kaal 0. Ja, dat is zwaar. As maar zwaar, but I know that's before you do wrap up. We can just quickly show a picture.
There we have the Sharks. So if you're a Shark supporter, Stormer supporter, Bull supporter, Lion supporter, you have no excuse. Your teams are all at home in the URC. And let's hope. Let's keep on chatting on Facebook. Chat with us on YouTube. We will continue with the banter on our Facebook page and just stay abreast of current affairs. There you have the log. And let's have a chat next week at the HSBC Cape Town 7s. If you see us there, walk up to us. Ek weet Kaizen en hy manne sommige tye kry is vir julle daar. Walk up to us. Kom skud 'n bietjie blad, kom gesels 'n bietjie en moenie bang wees om vir ons 'n bietjie te koggel oor ons geliefkoeste spanne nie. Maar Elberg, it was a lekker year. I'm glad I will see you in Cape Town next week, then we can have a good chat. But to everybody online, thanks for tuning in and thanks once again for a great year. Next year, 2023, we're going to certainly pick up the tempo and visit an event or a sporting happening in your backyard. Until then, Albert, at Têkkel Chat, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, alles wat mal is. Tot volgende jaar. Donderdag aan, Têkkel aan. Cheers.